Morning, Mr. Clarkson. PC.
AC/DC, Highway to Hell, topical. Right. Because the world, that's where the world is heading. That's what I meant. Political.
Jeremy Clarkson, renowned for his on-screen exploits with high-performance vehicles, transcended his television persona to emerge as a prominent advocate for the agricultural sector across the United Kingdom. In the face of governmental indifference toward the hardships endured by farmers, Clarkson leveraged his influential platform to shed light on the systemic inequities afflicting rural communities. His unvarnished candor and forthright commentary resonated deeply within the farming community, elevating him to a position of esteem and admiration among those who saw in him a fearless champion of their cause.
Well, I wanted to come along and support farmers.
What happens next if they don't listen across the road?
Well, I've got some ideas.
Does it involve spraying some cow on the place?
No, subtler. Subtler.
Jeremy, what's your word to the government? You're live on Sky.
Please back down.
Speculation has arisen regarding the potential arrest of Jeremy Clarkson, prompting questions about the underlying motives behind such an action. Why might this occur? Some assert that it represents a calculated effort to suppress his outspoken advocacy, targeting the singular individual with the audacity to challenge entrenched institutional powers. This development raises concerns among observers, who wonder whether such an arrest is coincidental or indicative of a deliberate strategy to stifle dissent and curtail his influential voice.
So I'm arresting you on criminal damage, okay?
You'll be out of jail in 20 minutes.
Mr. Clarkson, could I ask you just to calm down? And your continued presence here has constituted a breach of the peace. So therefore, I'm also arresting you, okay? Under Public Order Act, okay?
Ricky Gervais has consistently demonstrated an unrestrained approach in his commentary on political matters. For years, he has advocated a deep skepticism toward those in positions of power, cautioning against placing trust in their assurances. Gervais openly critiques the promises of politicians, viewing them as mere instruments for consolidating authority and maintaining dominance. He is unflinching in his condemnation of the political system, characterizing it as fundamentally corrupt and self-serving. From his perspective, the majority of political figures are primarily concerned with safeguarding their positions rather than pursuing policies that serve the greater good of the populace.
After postponing them all. But yeah, we just don't know what's happening. All the pressure for Christmas. Do you know the worst thing is, as well? Apart from the pandemic and the devastation and the deaths and the strain on the health service and people losing their livelihoods and that, the worst thing is the fucking cunts in charge do what they want.
Ricky Gervais' message strikes a chord with a significant portion of the public, reflecting a widespread sentiment that politicians often prioritize their own interests over the welfare of the people they serve. His growing following attests to a collective desire for authenticity and a voice unafraid to articulate uncomfortable truths. In light of the unfolding prospect of Jeremy Clarkson's arrest, one is compelled to question whether this development exemplifies the very political machinations and manipulative practices Gervais has long cautioned against.
We often see people pulled up online for an old tweet that contradicts their current position. And rather than celebrate that that person has learned something and has changed their opinion, it is used as a massive pile-on to cancel them. Exactly. How do you feel about that? And is there anything your 20-year-old self would have tweeted that you wouldn't agree with now? I'm sure, I can't think of anything. Although, I'd probably be embarrassed by my 20-year-old self trying to be so right on, because that's what most 20-year-olds are, they're trying to be. So I'd probably cringe at getting it slightly wrong.
Keir Starmer's public approval has been declining precipitously, as growing numbers express dissatisfaction with what they perceive as a failure to deliver on his promises of transformative change. Many view his actions as inconsistent with his rhetoric, contributing to a pervasive sense of disillusionment and fatigue with political duplicity. This sentiment is underscored by a petition calling for a new general election, which has garnered the signatures of over 3 million individuals, a figure that transcends mere numerical significance, representing a resounding critique of Starmer's leadership. For these signatories, he embodies a leader whose assurances lack substance and whose actions engender confusion rather than clarity. The public's frustration is becoming increasingly evident as they demand a leader who demonstrates decisive and trustworthy action, rather than one perceived as offering hollow declarations.
I'm 100% behind Jeremy Corbyn.
You are now.
I am working with Jeremy Corbyn to try to win the next general election. And don't trash the last 4 years, because what Jeremy Corbyn brought to this party, he made us an anti-austerity party that stood against cuts.
You're loyal to Jeremy Corbyn and you've spoken in his defence just now, but Louise Ellman says that he is a danger not just to the Labour Party but to the entire British Jewish community.
I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
The petition stands as a potent emblem of widespread dissatisfaction, conveying an unequivocal demand for change. With over 1 million individuals advocating for a departure from the status quo, the question arises, can Keir Starmer afford to disregard such a significant groundswell of discontent? This moment may well signal the onset of a broader political shift, one with the potential to precipitate a change in leadership. The urgency of the situation is palpable, with mounting pressure and a finite window for decisive action. Simultaneously, the trending of Jeremy Clarkson's name amid rumours of a potential arrest has been perceived by many as more than a mere celebrity controversy. Rather, it has been interpreted as a component of a larger narrative. Clarkson, a prominent critic of government policies, particularly concerning the agricultural sector and the treatment of farmers, has fearlessly voiced dissent, even at the cost of confronting influential power structures.
If she'd have wanted to take out the likes of James Dyson and investment bankers and so on, she would have used a sniper's rifle. But she's used a blunderbuss and she's hit all this lot. It was, as I understand it, it was a very rushed last-minute decision. And I think, we all make mistakes in life, and I think it's time for them to say, you know what, we've cocked this one up a bit and back down. That's my view.
The prospect of Jeremy Clarkson's arrest appears to be far from coincidental. A parallel can be drawn to the experiences of Nigel Farage, the reformist leader, who similarly faced attempts to undermine his voice following his outspoken commentary on the Southport attack. Farage alleged that governmental forces sought to silence him, and now Clarkson finds himself subjected to comparable scrutiny. This pattern suggests an intolerance among those in power for dissenting voices that challenge the established order. Might Clarkson's potential arrest represent yet another calculated effort to suppress individuals who refuse to conform to the traditional political narrative? The apparent connection is difficult to overlook.
We are witnessing one of the biggest cover-ups ever seen in our lives. On Southport, all I can say to you right now is I know a hell of a lot more than the British public know. A hell of a lot more. I've been completely silenced. I dared, the day after Southport, to do a video to say, can we please know who this man is? Was he known to the authorities? Why do I feel we're not being told the truth? The level of demonisation I came under for that from both front benches was astonishing.
The United Kingdom's inheritance tax framework is poised to become significantly more complex, with implications that are far from favourable. For those curious about how the government appropriates a substantial portion of an individual's estate posthumously, the answer may prove alarming. Recently proposed changes to tax regulations threaten to diminish family inheritances substantially. Estates valued above £325,000, or £500,000 for married couples, could see the excess subjected to an inheritance tax rate of 40%. While this threshold alone is concerning, the situation becomes even more troubling when pensions are taken into account. The cumulative tax burden on estates, when pensions are included, could reach an extraordinary 91%. To put this into perspective, heirs inheriting a family home, built through a lifetime of hard work, might see the vast majority of its value eroded by taxation. Critics argue that this policy has the potential to inflict severe economic harm on middle-class families already grappling with the pressures of escalating property prices. For individuals relying on pensions as a cornerstone of their retirement planning, these changes could leave minimal assets to pass down to future generations, thereby undermining long-term financial security for many.
Means that if the total value of your estate, including your pension, exceeds that £325,000 tax-free threshold, or £500,000 if you're leaving your home to your direct descendants, well, in that case, your heirs will face a 40% tax on the excess. For those with substantial pensions, this could significantly reduce the amount left for their family.
Ricky Gervais' critique of politicians extends beyond mere commentary. He distinguishes himself by steadfastly refusing to engage in the performative aspects of the political arena. As one of the rare public figures who consistently articulates unfiltered and heartfelt perspectives, Gervais maintains a reputation for authenticity. Despite his considerable wealth, he remains grounded, demonstrating a commitment to honesty over the pursuit of popularity. His disdain for politics is evident, and he makes no effort to conceal it. What truly sets Gervais apart is his profound insight into human nature. He does not merely address his audience, he becomes a voice for them. His unvarnished observations about the world strike a chord with many, particularly in an era where political figures often appear more concerned with cultivating their public image than with addressing genuine concerns.
I think I've been naive all my life. It's not till now I just go, why do we trust them? Of course we shouldn't trust the people in charge. That's how they're in charge. They shouldn't be trusted.
Ricky Gervais is known worldwide for his sharp wit, unfiltered thoughts and unique comedic style. But in Britain he's much more than just a comedian. Ricky has earned a reputation as a voice for the people, never shying away from addressing controversial issues, calling out the hypocrisy in politics, or questioning those in positions of power.
As working class. So Keir, define working class.
No, working class is families that work for their living, earn their money through going out to work every day, not through other
not
means.
Middle classes do that?
Well, working class families have the ordinary hope to get on in life. I mean, this has been a story.
Middle classes have that
Yeah,
as
of course they do. Of course they do.
So what's the distinction?
People will say to me, "Well, look here, you've come a long way.
Yeah, but you went to state school.
Yeah, but that is the ordinary hope of the working
Ricky
class.
Gervais is globally recognized for his incisive wit, candid observations, and distinctive comedic approach. However, within the United Kingdom, his influence extends far beyond the realm of comedy. Gervais has cultivated a reputation as a formidable voice for the public, consistently refusing to shy away from tackling contentious subjects, exposing the hypocrisies within political systems, and holding those in positions of power to account. His unapologetic stance on social and political issues has earned him the respect of many who view him as a vocal critic of the status quo.
Look, I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works. There would be plenty of people who didn't want us in the first place.
The arrest of Jeremy Clarkson has only served to amplify the ongoing discourse, with Ricky Gervais stepping forward to remind the public that it is truth, rather than power, that should hold precedence. Keir Starmer's response to the petition, which garnered over 3 million signatures demanding a new election, was nothing short of dismissive. Rather than engage with the concerns raised, he chose to trivialize the matter, responding with laughter. For millions of individuals, this reaction starkly underscored Starmer's disconnection from the public he purports to serve. The 3 million signatories, representing the voices of a frustrated electorate, made a powerful statement through their petition. Yet, Starmer's choice to mock these concerns rather than acknowledge them only deepened perceptions of his detachment. Such arrogance has led many to question his capacity for leadership, as his dismissive demeanor increasingly reflects a leader seemingly indifferent to the very constituents he is meant to represent.
Expose, if I'm cancelling someone because the tiniest thing they did 10 years ago, think how perfect I must be. That's what they're trying to say. They're trying to get one-upmanship to make themselves look better. So, yeah, it's to be ignored. And
the situation presents a stark reality. While the petition has garnered 3 million signatures, Keir Starmer is acutely aware that it is unlikely to result in any meaningful change. There is little prospect that the petition will even be brought to debate within Parliament. Given that the United Kingdom boasts a voter base of approximately 40 million, 3 million signatures represent a fraction too small to exert substantial influence. Starmer understands this dynamic, which is why his response appears so unperturbed. He remains largely unconcerned with public demands, for the political system is structured in such a way that it is designed to disregard such petitions. This petition will not compel a new election, nor will it result in his removal from office. Starmer's hold on power remains firm, and it is precisely this entrenched authority that fuels widespread frustration. It is evident that he does not feel the weight of public pressure. His dismissive reaction serves as a clear indication that he views himself as impervious to the concerns of the electorate, regardless of the volume of public dissent. With each passing day, Starmer consolidates his influence, but not in a manner that serves the interests of the people. His growing dominance within the Labour Party reflects an increasing concentration of power, which he seems intent on using to further entrench his position. Rather than leveraging this power to foster unity or initiate meaningful reforms, it appears that Starmer is focused on suppressing opposition. His expanding control over the party suggests that his priorities lie in safeguarding his own position, rather than addressing the pressing concerns of the public.
would you consider taking over as PM? Oh, I wouldn't do anything in politics. Wouldn't do anything close to it. Thankless, horrible. Oh, I'd be rubbish at it, I'd be angry, I'd piss people off, I'd say the wrong thing, I'd go, oh, forget it, do what you want. I was trying to help you, fuck amongst yourselves. No, that. No. And I wouldn't want to take a pay cut. I wouldn't want to move to a smaller house.
As Keir Starmer's power consolidates, his increasing detachment from the public becomes ever more apparent. This type of authority tends to foster a dangerous arrogance, and many fear that it is steering the country toward an uncertain and precarious future, one in which the voices of the people are systematically disregarded. The question arises, what occurs when a leader becomes indifferent to the concerns of the public? Under Starmer's leadership, the United Kingdom risks exacerbating its divisions and deepening societal discontent. Starmer's consistent refusal to engage with public demands, whether in response to the petition for a new election or the broader calls for meaningful reform, could have enduring and detrimental consequences. Should he continue to dismiss the pleas of over 1 million individuals, it is plausible that his actions will propel the nation toward even greater civil unrest. With the public already growing disillusioned, the widening chasm between leadership and the electorate has the potential to ignite further protests, foster increased dissatisfaction, and amplify the clamour for significant political change. The longer Starmer remains in power without addressing these concerns, the more difficult it will become to mend the growing erosion of public trust in the nation's leadership. The growing frustration with Keir Starmer's leadership has prompted many to seek alternatives, with increasing attention now being directed towards Nigel Farage and his reform-oriented political party. Although Farage has long been a polarizing figure, his advocacy for systemic change resonates with a substantial portion of the electorate disillusioned by the prevailing political establishment. His party promises a departure from the entrenched political structures, positioning itself as a genuine alternative to Starmer's leadership. The momentum behind this movement is further evidenced by the 1 million signatures on petitions calling for a new election, many of whom now view Farage as the figure best equipped to spearhead a call for transformative change. The public in the United Kingdom is becoming increasingly restless, and a growing number are turning to reform-minded leaders whom they perceive as more attuned to their needs. This discontent is particularly pronounced as concerns about economic security deepen. When an estate exceeds £325,000, £500,000 for married couples, the implications of inheritance tax become more substantial. For individuals whose estates include pensions, property, or savings that surpass these thresholds, the excess may be subject to a significant 40% tax rate. This could result in a considerable portion of their wealth being absorbed by taxes. The situation is even more dire for those relying on pensions to ensure financial stability in retirement. The tax burden on pensions could elevate the overall inheritance tax rate to an astonishing 91%, leaving little to be passed on to heirs and further exacerbating the sense of insecurity among the public.